Let's go live.
And all right, I think we are live. Welcome everybody to the very first episode 000 of Behind the Muse, the video broadcast of the Behind the Muse project, which is sort of the brainchild, I guess, of myself and these two lovely people you see joined with me here in the Hangout. They are the lovely and talented Miss Zinn Star. Hi, Zinn.
Hi. Oh, I thought that was him.
No, it's you. And Zinn is broadcasting live from the set of it looks like a movie set back there. It's a.
I am in it. It's where the magic happens.
Oh, wink, wink. Okay. And moving on to our other founder and co-host. We're off to a great start already, guys.
Yeah, I have nothing to compare with that, so I'm done.
Also joining us from where his magic happens, this is Rick Walter from Synthesis Photo. How are you doing, Rick?
I'm trying to maintain.
Thank you for grounding us. I think Rick is going to be the one that grounds us here during this broadcast. But
I agree.
Okay.
But yes, so to those of you that are just joining in, yes, this well, it's not a podcast. It may eventually evolve into an audio podcast. But for right now, it's an occasional video show via YouTube and Google Hangouts, where Rick and Zinn and myself work to showcase and highlight models and artists, particularly in the area of photography, because Rick and I are both photographers. But you know, models that work in art, and particularly nude art, or you know, I should just read the mission statement. Is that a good idea? Because
Yeah.
I'm already stumbling all over myself here, but
Oh, it's no big deal.
wait.
I
So,
just took my clothes off.
It's not.
hey, it's a show that we highlight models on this show. So, but no, the mission of the show, if I can just read from what I wrote a little bit earlier, this is why I wrote it, so I didn't have to trip all over myself, is to showcase, discuss, explore, and validate the models and artists who inspire photographers, painters, sculptors, and other creatives to create their art, particularly that art which seeks to portray and document the beauty of the human body in its most natural form. So that was a little bit more eloquent than I was attempting to
It's
say.
beautiful. I like it.
Thank you, thank you.
Well
So
done.
just so I can, I guess, officially introduce myself, my name is Joe Tregraziano from Three Graces Photography. I specify and concentrate on shooting people and models, and like the mission statement says, most of my work focuses on the female nude, and that's actually how I've met both of my co-hosts and founders. I was originally from the Philadelphia area, where I had a photography studio, and occasionally I hosted shootouts, which we'll probably discuss in a future episode. And Rick was a photographer that I met at one of those shootouts. We became fast friends, and we did a couple. And actually, one of the first shoots that we decided to do together, Rick hired and found online at, what was the site, Rick?
Model Mayhem.
Model Mayhem. Okay, I thought you were going to say Naked Chicks for Hire or something like that, but no,
Dude,
was-
somebody needs to buy that website right now, because I think that's a second project right there.
yeah.
Just saying.
we
Maybe
be-
chicks for hire. I mean,
yeah, we better trademark
you
that
can go
soon.
either way though.
Yes. Well, yeah, we'll table that for now, but we might have to revisit that in a future episode.
Sounds good.
But actually, Rick is the one who found Zinn on Model Mayhem, and hired her for a shoot that we all did together, and she became actually one of my first muses, and Rick's, and we've been. When was that, Rick? That was back in 2009. 2010.
2010.
Okay. Wow.
Summer of 2010, 6 years ago.
Wow. Yeah. So that's a long time in this business to be working together.
I was scared to death of her, actually.
Really?
Yes. I found on Model Mayhem, you can still, to this day, see there's a section called casting calls for models, photographers, MUAs, that kind of thing. And then there's a travel notice section where you can look to see who's coming to the area that's traveling art models. And this one here was not even putting up a travel notice, just I'm in the area and it was naked chick for hire. And then I looked at her portfolio and I went, okay, let me send her a message. She'll probably go, oh God, I'm not working with this guy, you know. And little did I know, she was like, oh yeah, your stuff's not that bad. And then, no, she didn't say that.
I did not do that.
No, you didn't.
Not.
Zinn would never say that.
She was very, very cool about it and said, you know, here's how it all works. And then, you know, I approached you, Joe, as to use your place, and you said sure. And then, you know, next thing you know, she was there, and a couple weeks later, and I was still scared of her.
I have that effect on men.
Well, no, it was after you see your work. You know, your work at that point was so, you know, wonderful and everything. It was like you didn't really know what to expect. You know.
I'll second that. I mean, and Rick and Zinn and I have all talked about this, but I had just maybe about a week or two prior to Rick contacting me and saying, hey, I found this model, Zinn Star, that's willing to shoot with us. I heard you on another podcast called the Model and Photographer Podcast, right, which is, I think, now defunct, unfortunately, but
I actually have the recording. So I have my recording. I don't have anybody else's recording, but I have listened to mine again. Oh my goodness. I said the word amazing way too many times. But it was really funny to hear like how I spoke then, because that was God knows how many years ago. It was over 6 years. Yeah, it was probably about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Because all right, let's not talk about dates and years.
No.
No.
It's all relative. It's all relative.
It's all good.
But
I started when I was 12.
Yeah, there you go.
Just kidding.
But now, Zinn, I mean, as everybody can immediately see here, just in the first few minutes of this podcast, or not podcast, but our web show here,
oh boy,
Zinn is not fun at all.
Not.
But no, that's Zinn. Right away from hearing you on that podcast, it made me a little bit more confident to pursue shooting models like you. I think, men and artists or photographers or anybody that wants to approach a model are very scared at first, and it's to hear your personality come through that podcast immediately put me at ease. And like Rick said, I had checked out your work through that podcast, and it was just stunning. And you got to work with one of my idols. I saw that you had worked with Jock Sturgis, and I was immediately just like, I'm never going to be able to shoot this girl. She's way out of my league. Way out of my league.
That was by pure luck. And I've worked with him more than once, and it was only because of the Palm Springs Photo Festival. And if that didn't literally fall into my lap, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. And just meeting him, you want to talk about, me working with him, but then me meeting him, I was in awe. And he is the most humble man you will ever meet. He speaks, I don't know, a bunch of different languages, and it's just, I mean, like, and it was cool because all the models that worked in the workshop with him ended up, Brooke Labrie. I don't know if a lot of people have heard of her. She's an amazing art model. She toured in France and did oh my God, amazing person as well. And she actually took a film shot of the 4 nude models and then Jacques in the middle. I think that was posted on my port.
That's the shot that I saw, yeah.
I love that. I'm like, that's just perfect. And I will never forget that. And that will be forever ingrained in here. And it was a great experience. Great opportunity. I mean, I've had the opportunities that have fallen into my lap, and literally I just one day you open up your email box and I have, you know, an email from Manfred Bauman and or Weston or, you know, whoever. It's just like, it blows my mind. So that people wouldn't want to work with me because I don't know. There's so many other different models out there, and that I admired when I first started, and that was, I mean, some of them just are, and they're still in the game, which is crazy to me because I mean, I'm technically still in too, so
Mhm.
I just can't retire.
You're very much in the game.
I will not retire.
Please don't ever retire, Zinn. Do not ever retire.
I won't. I won't.
So you know, you mentioned a
Only
little bit
work
about when you started.
with my
Oh, I'm sorry.
favorite select. It's okay. You're fine. You're fine. Go ahead.
Great. Yeah, well, you know, you mentioned about when you started, so I actually want to get into that a little bit with both of you. I'll just mention first that I kind of got started in photography around probably about a year and a half before I met you guys. It was always a hobby in high school, in the film days. You know, it just became too expensive. I was spending way too much money on film and developing and that kind of thing, so it kind of fell, you know, by the wayside. And 2008, digital cameras were really on the rise, and I decided to get back into it. And um, you know what? To be honest, I kind of got into nude model photography or art model photography by accident. I took I saw a workshop offered online up in Metuchen, New Jersey, and they just said, you know, learn lighting. It was called Glamour 101. It was a Glamour 101 workshop. And,
Who taught that? Just curious.
Rick, you've gone to those too. Do you remember?
No, I never actually went. I just knew where they were. I'm trying to remember the guy's name, and I can't for the life of me.
Right.
He no longer has the studio. It's not even there. I am friends with the guy who was on Facebook that was his like lead photographer that put a lot of the stuff together.
Right.
He used to go by Digital Willie. And
right, I remember Digital Willie's post. He was there at every single one. They did it monthly, right? or every other week or something like that.
Every other it was every other Sunday for like 6 or 7 years.
Right.
I can't remember the name of the guy that ran them though, because it's been a while.
Right.
But he always had like 7 or 8 models every time.
Yeah, and a lot of photographers. It was popular, and I had always shot people, so I thought, okay, glamour photography, great. And all I saw in the ad was, you know, lighting setups and learn studio lighting, and that's what I thought I was going to learn. And lo and behold, when I walked in, like you said, there was many models there, all, you know, in their natural state. And, so of course I was like a little taken aback at first, but you know, I was so kind of blown away by how artistic these models were, and once you do start shooting, how expressive it can be and how beautiful it can be, and I was just immediately hooked. And even before then, I was fans of photographers who shot artistic nudes, even not with models or hired models, but just like Sally Mann. I was a big fan of hers. I mean, she you know, she shot, I mean, mostly her family. And her work. I mentioned Jock Sturgis, who I was a fan of. So I guess the rest is history. I literally within a year had my own studio, was doing my own shootouts, and meeting wonderful people like Rick and Zinn here. So so that's kind of my story, I guess, with my photography. You know, Zinn, let's jump over to you. I mean, you did mention a little bit about when you get started. What did lead you to jumping into this crazy field?
I had no idea what I was getting into, number one. Number two, again, it was just by accident. It was my mother introduced me to a photographer who was actually looking for a makeup artist. And not that I was a makeup artist, but I loved experimenting with my makeup. I wore really dark, smoky eyes all the time. And that was my thing when I first started Zinn Star. It was very dark and very, you know, that was kind of like the brand, I guess. I don't want to say branded myself, but that was all I'd do. I'd come to the shoot and I've had this dark, smoky eye makeup. And anywho, so we ended up, I did like makeup on my face, and he's like, okay, well now it's time to shoot. And I'm like, what? I'm like, wait a minute. No. I'm not the model. I'm here to show you that I can do makeup. I'm not the model. No. You got this totally twisted. But we ended up taking some shots, and I had fun, and it was a good time. I slowly built a relationship with the gentleman who got me started. He's like a second father to me now. I mean, he lives in California, and he's also the reason why I got on a plane and started traveling. So I have a lot. I owe him a lot for doing what he's done for me and giving me the confidence in order to stand in front of people literally buck naked. Right. And so that was 2005. Yeah.
Right. Now, prior to that, did you?
Nude. My first nude shoot was actually at a small waterfall. He didn't know what was going to happen. We originally planned it as like a bikini shoot, but I just felt so comfortable with him. We did shoot after shoot after shoot after shoot, and that's where I really learned. We would sit down at the computer afterwards, and that's where I would learn like what angles were good for me and all that. So I already knew that kind of before I started working with other people, which was nice. I kind of had a heads up. Right. So that way when I started working with others, it was like, oh, wow, like, you compose. I'm like, well, yeah, I've had some practice. Practice makes perfect. So I would stand in front of my mirror and practice, and the rest is practice. Not history, but yeah.
Like you said, practice makes perfect, and and Zinn, you touched on a lot of great points. Any of the models who I've shot, who I think are like among the best, do the same things. They'll say that they spend a lot of time practicing their posing, and also they're the ones that understand photography a little bit more because they're either photographers themselves, or they've worked closely with photographers and they understand, like you said, composition, or finding their light, finding where's the main light source. And I think I can immediately. I've shot some models who I've known nothing about, and I've been able to say, like, do you do some photography yourself? And the answer is always, yeah, how'd you tell? And it's like, well, you can just, you can tell the models that have that deeper understanding of the photographic process, I guess, and
right. I agree.
So that's a great story. Now, the photographer that got you started, can you give him a shout out, or do you think he might remain?
Oh no, definitely Mike Sly. He's actually in Southern California right now.
And I'm sorry, Mike. What's his last name?
Sly. So it was always M Sly Photography. So even on anything, it's even on Model Mayhem, it's MSLYGH Photography. M Sly. Yeah. Yep.
Mike Sly. All right, we'll put a link. We do have a website. I forgot to mention that. If anybody goes to it right now, it's I think it's just like the the holder page, but it's BehindTheMuseProject.com. But we're eventually going to be making show notes pages for each of our broadcasts. So we'll make a link. We'll put a link to Mike Sly's page in there as well. So
cool, much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. And Rick, I know now you've been shooting for. I think I'm just going to record that, Zinn. Every time I say Rick's name, we should just hear that, So Rick.
I'll be Blake in the show. Stop.
So
Rick, Rick's story.
Yes, I don't have a story.
Oh, come on, man. I'm sure you have a more interesting story than any of us.
Do you have a question, or do you want me to just talk?
Well, I'll start off by saying that you are probably one of the most prolific photographers that I know. If you follow Rick's Instagram feed, his Facebook feed for his photography, which is under Synthesis Photo, and we'll put links to that as well. You keep the content coming, man, and it just keeps getting better and better all the time. And like I mentioned earlier that I met you in 2010, or late 2009. But what's your story before that, man? what kind of got you started in photography in general, and then what made you focus on shooting art models and
naked chicks?
That's why we all got into it.
No. Okay. Well, I got into it in college. Okay.
That's what she said. I'm sorry.
Oh, Lord.
I knew the show was going to go off the
I'm
rails
sorry.
sooner or later. I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. So I love you, Zinn. That's okay. Um,
I love you too. Thank you.
I was like Joe. I was a musician, and ended up, realizing that I wasn't going to be a rock star. So I went to college and got a degree in media and communications, and did photography that way. Then moved from my small area to Philadelphia, and basically got rejected at every photography studio that I went to, and they said, go do something else.
Oh,
So I did. I did something else for approximately 30 years, and was still playing the whole time. And in 2008, I had a back injury, and was no longer able to play. And so I'm like, well, okay, that door closed. What are we going to do now? So the only other thing I ever had a passion for was the photography, and had done it through the early 80s, and then put it aside, just stopped because life got too busy and stuff like that. And so in 2008, had the injury to deal with. That took like a year to get better. And then 2009, I bought my first digital camera. Didn't know what I was doing. I was like, okay, none of this makes sense. What's Photoshop? And
right.
truly didn't know what it was. Didn't know how to use it. I still don't know how to use it. And so I'm still. I just said earlier today, I'm still using CS5. I don't have the the Adobe Cloud and everything.
Right.
But long story short, I spent a year at this computer, staying up till 2 in the morning, watching YouTube tutorials on how do I do this, how do I do that, what things to use. And then I started going on Model Mayhem, which was the best resource. And I started to see people. And I'd been shooting a little bit. I wasn't letting anybody really see too much in 2009. And then in 2010 was when I met you guys. And I had a little bit of a portfolio then, not a whole lot. But
Right.
I had met some people, and I'll give a shout out to a guy in Delaware who his work was amazing, and you worked with him, Zinn, Chris Carroll.
Oh.
So
I worked with him once.
Okay, and
Yeah.
I reached out to him, and his stuff was just really, I thought, amazing. And he said, well, I teach, so do you have a basic understanding of this, and this? And so I went down and I studied with him, and that's when I started studying with people. Like, okay, there's all these people that are way better than know more than I do, so let me reach out and see if they were willing to show me stuff. And so little by little, and then I met Joe, and we started to hang out together and shoot together. And what happened? We lost her.
Nope, I'm here.
Oh, no,
Okay.
she's back.
Okay. And so that's kind of it. And I took, one step at a time, and tried to, and as far as the art thing goes, growing up, I was influenced, obviously, by Playboy. You couldn't not be influenced by Playboy.
Right.
And then Helmut Newton. And always a big influence was George Harrell, who did all the Hollywood actors and actresses from the 20s to. That's probably still, if people say, why does my stuff look the way it does, I'll say it's him, because he would do all these cool things with theater lights, like 2,000 watt Fresnels, and
Right.
giant lights, and create hard shadows.
The very stylized look.
In fact, one of the very first night that we shot together, I did a shot like that of you, and one light, kind of shadowy, hard light, and people kind of liked it. So I thought, well, maybe I'm onto something. Maybe people would want to see that kind of thing. And then ever since then, I've just been really lucky to have worked with a lot of amazing people, and have met some amazing photographers in this area, in the Philadelphia area. What is she doing?
I think Zinn is adjusting her camera.
Sorry.
Okay.
I had to plug in. I'm dying over here. My phone's dying. I'm sorry.
You're killing me, Smalls.
All of a sudden, I get this thing flashed on my screen, 10%. I'm like, ooh, that's a problem. That's a big problem.
See, and I forgot to
Sorry.
mention at the top of the show that this is a kind of a test broadcast, but we thought, hey, everything's working. Let's go live. Let's make it live on the site. So it'll be a good way to kind of introduce ourselves to our prospective audience. But there will be bloopers and blunders and, and mistakes. And hey, we're just going to put it out there, warts and all. So, but
well, that's about it. That's
definitely far from perfect.
Yeah.
But damn close.
Hey, we'll take it. And Rick, I don't know, my head's blocking it, I think, but on my coffee table back there, actually right there, there's a George Harrell book that you gave me.
Okay. Yeah.
I look at it frequently and use it as a source of inspiration. It's a great book. I recommend any photographer, no matter what you concentrate on, to watch or to look at some of his work, because it's inspiring, and like I mentioned, Sally Mann and Jock Sturgis. Robert Mapplethorpe was another photographer that I was just so intrigued by. Like you, I mean, you mentioned Playboy, Rick, but for me, I remember when I was first allowed to start going to the mall by myself. I was just early adolescent, the magazines were always, in the little bookstores inside the mall, were always kind of like towards the front of the mall where people could see you looking through magazines. So I had to be more stealthy, and I discovered that the photography section had, nude model books, or God, I remember one of the first books was just a book of like nude poses, like a posing book, for painters and sculptors, and to an 11-year-old kid, oh my God, look at this, there's naked women everywhere, and but in all honesty, I mean, born out of that, prepubescent desire to see naked people was this love of this beautiful art that was made with, like I mentioned, Sally Mann and Robert Mapplethorpe and Jock Sturgis and others. I mean, there's the only three I can think of off the top of my head. But so that you mentioned Playboy just made me think that is kind of like a gateway to I think people exploring more artistic representations of.
I think you can't deny Playboy's influence on culture and the female form and everything of that way. I mean, he had the brains to hire some amazing photographers.
Right.
I mean, Pompeo Posar was one of his lead photographers who, I watched an interview with him one day, and people always thought, oh, it's just a wonderful thing. You get to go shoot naked women all day, blah, blah, blah. But it was like a job, I mean, he kissed his wife goodbye in the morning and went and did that. But
right.
A few years ago, I was lucky enough to study with Lou Freeman, who was only the second woman to ever shoot for Playboy. And, she explained to us, like, how a lot of those things, for those centerfolds would be 16 lights sometimes. And there was a reason for all that. Maybe 4 of them were lighting the model, the rest of them were lighting the set and everything like that. But that stuff, I never cared, like, when you looked at it over the years, the ones that were like all about the centerfold. I cared more about the ones that were like in the back pages, or the other things that weren't so glamoury. And then the stuff that they would feature with Helmut Newton was amazing.
Right.
His stuff was always out there, and a little twisted, and the way he lit things too was amazing.
Right.
And I think that's the thing that got, as I kept going through this, was I would look at people's stuff and be like, how did they make that look so beautiful? And I didn't understand enough about how to work with the model and the lights to get it to look that way. And the other thing was, you talked about the first time we shot Zinn. After we did it, I put the proofs up on my website in a gallery, and she said, well, why don't you call me and I'll go through all of it with you and tell you what's good and what's bad and how you can improve. And she was the first person to ever do that and take the time, and she did that for like a couple of shoots, and spent like an hour and a half with me on the phone, which I thought was amazing, you know. So to her credit, you know, I don't know if you did that with a lot of people, or you just thought I was so bad you needed to help me. I know, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
I can't believe you just said that. That's it. Now we just have to schedule a shoot so I can kick your butt.
Okay.
No.
I want to be the photographer there because I'll shoot it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
But did you do that with a lot of people, or I mean?
No. I mean,
See, I wasn't bad.
No, stop. No, because you were learning, and I saw that. I've actually there's a gentleman who I worked with I met him at the Palm Springs Photo Festival, and we literally, like, I sat with him with the shots that he already shot, and I was like, well, what if you do this, and what if you do this, and what if you do this, and I think that was more of how we bonded. I know obviously this will be brought up again in a different interview, but the model and photographer relationship is key. It doesn't have to be a relationship. It just has to be a professional friendship where, you know, you're both learning. Like, I want to see the images of myself to make sure that I'm doing what, you know, I'm being paid for. It's my job. And then for you, it's almost the model's insight as to maybe it's, you know, maybe I'm lit to the point of where I'm like, oh, my boobs don't look good, or my butt needs to look bigger, or, you know, girl problems, you know, or what have you. It you know, or maybe I'm like, oh, we could go back. I could see this a different way. Like, what if we shot it this way? Or you know, that's why looking at the back of the camera with the model that you're working with is so important, because it's like, well, how do you like this? Well, we can tweak it. You know, there's always fine tweaks. I mean, there's a slight hair. I mean, that way you don't have to deal with it in Photoshop. And there's people out there who are like, screw it, I'll fix it in Photoshop. And then there's the people who are like, it's coming right out of the camera. I can send you the raw image, and that's it. Although you better fix my pimples, because I'm not having that. No. That's what Photoshop is for.
Yeah. And you know, Zinn, I'll piggyback on what you're both saying. First of all, I think what you just said is kind of a perfect explanation of the why photographers, or not even, I don't even want to keep saying photographers. I mean, like I said before, Rick and I are photographers, but the term muse is applied to photographers, painters, sculptors, poets, musicians. I mean, and a muse is usually referring to a female because it's taken from Greek mythology. There's 9 daughters of Zeus who they each inspire a different art. And yeah, particularly, but you know, when an artist finds a woman or a model or somebody that inspires the creativity in him or her, you know, they refer to them as their muse. So you know, Zinn has definitely been a muse and one of my favorite muses for both me and Rick. But it's for that reason, Zinn. I mean, you take such a you're so inspiring yourself just in the way you approach your work, the way you approach the work of the people that you're working with. You know, it was evident to me that you cared about the work. You know, you wanted to look at the camera, you wanted to see the shots, you wanted to make them better. You know, and I'm sure, Rick, you can probably attest to this. I've definitely shot some models that, you know, just, you know, wanted to pose, you know, get paid and leave, and, you know, hey, you want to see these? No, I trust you, you're good. You know, so you know, which you know, there's something to be said for, hey, they're there to do a job and that kind of thing, but you know, they're not a model that I would refer to as one of my muses or a muse. But
well, I can I know we're getting close to time and everything, but having now done this for 6 years, I've begun to realize that it's not about the fact that certain models don't care. It's that they're doing it. And some of them, I'm not going to name any names at all at this point in time. I mean, but they really, really care about what they do. And it's like, as soon as the camera's on them, it's like, you know, go time, and they're giving you their soul
Yep.
and everything.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they're like, I've seen your work. I trust you. I can't look at any more pictures of myself.
Right.
Just send me whatever you think was the best.
Yeah.
And then,
Right.
it took me a while to understand that while we're doing this one shoot that might be like, maybe you do 2 shoots a month, something like that, with somebody that's on the road, but they're doing that 3 times a day,
Right.
5 days, 6 days a week. Okay,
Yeah.
for like a 3-month tour, they don't care about seeing all the, they're
This
just
is
like,
true. This is true.
I mean, unless it's somebody they have a special, particular relationship with that they shoot with, like
Right.
they shoot with monthly, and they go, they after the shoot they go out to dinner with them and they hang out, and I mean that in a completely non-sexual way. I just mean that
Right. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm just trying to clarify
Models
that.
need food.
Yes.
Models need food.
Right.
I think
but-
that's one of the things I love about art models too, is that they're not afraid to eat. I mean, you work in the fashion industry. It's like, hey, you want something for lunch? I'll have a leaf, or I don't know, do you have some kale? But art models are just like, let's get a pizza.
Yeah.
I think Zinn asked for Cheez-Its the first time we shot with her. Was
Yeah.
Ooh, Cheez-Its are good.
Yeah.
Right.
Cheez-Its are very good. I actually had white cheddar today. Very
nice?
good. I recommend them.
See, word. Anybody that wants to shoot or work with Zinn, make sure you have Cheez-Its at the ready. White cheddar.
That's
But
right. That's right.
It took me,
That or shrimp cocktail.
Oh, there you go. So it took a while to understand and process that some of them don't want to see it because they simply don't have time. It's not that they don't care; it's they don't have time.
Right.
But
That's
and-
good. That's good advice, Rick. I mean, for like I said, for people that are just getting into this or do work regularly with models and muses, just to keep that in mind. Don't take it personally if they can't view.
And as a photographer, don't take it personal that if you give them, and Zinn will attest to this, you got paid to do the gig. If you get pictures, it's a bonus. Some photographers will say, I don't have time to give you pictures, thank you very much. And other ones that I think I've always been the case where I'm going to give you some pictures. If you use them, great. It'll promote my work. And if you like my work, that's even better.
Right.
But a lot of guys won't do that. They're like, you got paid. I don't have to give you images. I got paid gigs I got to worry about, and I don't have time. But I've always felt like it's a two-way street, and I'll give you the images if you use them, great. If you don't use them, whatever. But it took me a while to learn. Don't take that personal,
right?
Because some models are really going to like your work, and other ones don't. And what I started saying is, I can't be everybody's cup of tea. Everybody's got a cup of tea, and sometimes you ain't it. And that's all there is to it.
Amen.
It's funny because that you bring that up about models, especially traveling models, because normally, they book themselves for, a week or 2 or even a month of traveling. And a photographer said this to me, and it made sense. He was like, for every 3 hours that I'm on the computer, I book 1 hour worth of work.
That's
crazy.
I would agree
when you
to
think
that.
about it, but it's the absolute truth. So if I sat on my computer for a whole 6 hours, I better be getting at least 2 to 3 to maybe 4 hours shoot out of that. But
right.
That's just the way the cookie crumbles. It's like, and that's why it's as a traveling model, it's very imperative to get back to the people who are emailing you and all that. And I'm sure they're giving. I will speak for myself. Always wanted to give 110, if not 20%, when I'm at a shoot. Even though yes, I do care about the images, and if they come, they come. And if I love them, it's damn right it's going to my port.
Right.
If not, I still saw them and I still loved them, and it's still me, and I'm as long as the photographer's happy, then obviously I did my job.
Right.
If they're happy about the work that they did, then that's it. I did my job.
Right, and that's a great point, Zinn and Rick both. And I'm just going to I'm going to jump in. Okay, you can turn it like
what happened to your light?
when we started. It was this beautiful window light that was
I know, right? And I was so proud of my window light, and now I have to go with this
there you go.
crappy light.
We can see you now. That's okay. It's still good light. It's still good lighting.
All right,
It's a little.
I'm a one light wonder right now.
That hey, the best models and photographers can do wonders with one light. But you know, we've covered a lot of ground just in the last 45 minutes here, and you know, moving forward, we're going to talk about all of these things more in depth. We've mentioned Model Mayhem. We can dedicate an entire episode to just talking about how to work Model Mayhem. Zinn can be the focus of an episode and talk about traveling and how to work with photographers and you know, being professional and that kind of thing. Rick can speak to, you know, working with models and that kind of thing. And we'll also have guests on the show. We have some models lined up already that we're going to be either video interviewing or audio interviewing. So we'll be featuring interviews. We'll be featuring roundtable discussions like we kind of did tonight about certain aspects of this art model culture or business.
The underground
the
modeling
right.
ring. I always like to put like a
seedy
dirty
underground
tone on it. It's like It is. It's to me. I always considered myself. I'm an underground model. I was never signed with an agency, and I think that's what a lot of people are like. Oh, well, you're a model. You should be. I don't have to be signed with an agency. I can work for myself, and and I'll keep my 20%.
And
so.
just as a quick aside, I mean, Rick mentioned that I'm also a musician. I still work as a professional musician, and I love the fact that the music industry is so independent now. There's more artists right now establishing themselves without record labels, without agencies. They're doing it themselves. The internet has made that possible, and I think that's another reason why I'm so drawn to the art model culture, or you know, just like you said, Zinn, it's not going through agencies. It's not so money driven as it is, you know, driven by creativity and the desire to want to create art and make something beautiful. So anyway, more about all that to come. I just want to mention a couple things that, you know, I spewed out that I couldn't think of. It's Greg Price who
That's it.
Glamour 101 workshops. Those websites are still up, and there's links. I'll put a link to it in the show notes and in the description here on YouTube. If anybody wants to go, just check out the site and see some of the past work. There's the Glamour 101 workshops. Zinn mentioned the Palm Springs Photo Festival. That still goes on. It was just in April of this year.
Yep.
And I think we need to go as a group, a Behind the Muse project group, next April, if anybody's up for it. Throw that out there.
I better know some of the models there. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, we're going. It's done. I just made the decision.
Done deal.
But I'll put links to all that kind of stuff. Rick mentioned a couple great photographers like Helmut Newton. I'll put a link to some of his work as well. So now, speaking of all these things,
don't forget Jock.
And who? Oh yeah, Jock Sturgis. Sally Mann. Yeah, I'll go through the episode and put links to everybody that we mentioned here, so it'll just save everybody a little Google time.
Cool.
But speaking of that, I want to just kind of wrap up the show with maybe a final segment we'll do each show, which is, for right now, we don't have a name for it. I'm just going to call this the Check This Out segment, where each one of us will recommend to the viewers either someone or something to check out that's related to the world of art, model, photography, or just art modeling. You know, like I said, I keep saying photography, but I want to keep this open to other art forms as well. So I don't know. You guys look a little perplexed. Do you want me to go first while you're thinking?
Like, I wasn't prepared for this question.
Come on, it was in the outline. It was in the outline.
Oh, see,
I sent you about a whole 15 minutes before we
I have to read the full outline next time.
You know, it was way at the bottom, so I can understand. But well, tell you what, I'll go. Rick, do you have one to go?
One? It's called ModelSociety.com.
Nice.
They really do a nice job promoting models, artists, photographers, and it's all about the human form. And I can't remember the guy that runs it right now. Oh, David Bolt. Okay. And they put out a magazine. I think they've got 3 or 4 out now, issues, and a lot of people that I've actually met have been in a number of the issues, and there's a lot of amazing people on there that have profiles on there both as models and photographers. Bill Earl is on there. Steve Lease is on there. Oh God, there's just so many people on there, and
Scott
Yeah,
Pearson's on there. I know that.
yes, yep, yep. Haven't seen him in a
I
couple
heard
of
that
years.
yeah. I was gonna say I'm gonna recommend OMP. I'm gonna date myself. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I totally don't recommend OMP. That was like back in the day. In the day, Model Mayhem totally took over.
Oh, yeah, that's
Good for them.
That's one model place, right? Is that what we're
Yeah, that was what it was. I think it's still around, but I don't know anybody that uses it. You know.
Yeah, well.
I don't know how. For me, bookings, it was Model Mayhem. Model Mayhem, Model Mayhem, Model Mayhem. Or just encounters at group shoots, and then you just collect everybody's business card and email them that way. That's pretty much. I booked a couple things on OMP when I first started, but Model Mayhem was definitely my go-to. When I was modeling like Facebook, and now I'm really aging myself. Holy shiznit.
Hey, you haven't said MySpace or AOL Instant Messenger yet, so you understand?
No. Oh
did you put it up in your away status?
I always love that. That was funny. It's so great that the internet has really opened it up to models. Like I see models posting casting calls now on Facebook. Again, the only thing that I have to say about that is be careful, and be careful using your real name, and be careful, give yourself a fake name. I mean, there's a lot of stars in Hollywood that do it. So why not do it for yourself? And that way, God only knows what's going to happen to your, with you in your future.
Right.
And to me, a lot of models are like, hey, I don't care. I'm going to use my real name. All respect to you. But for me, my model tip is come up with something different. Come up with a name. Come up with a brand, almost like a brand. Because I had to brand Zinn Star. It's something, it was easy. It was cool for me. And it was easy to remember. So,
yep.
That for me as advertising wise, I think was easy, but I didn't have as many platforms as people do today, which is good and bad at the same time, because now there's way more, I don't want to say competition, but there's definitely a lot more models out there, and there's a lot of models. And
right,
I don't know.
Right.
I guess there's a lot of people out there who are willing to take their clothes off, but you got to be good at it. So that's the only thing that'll set you apart. So just be good at it. That's it. Just be good.
Is that your official
Extra
check this
good.
out? That's your official recommendation here, Zinn?
That's not my official check this out. That's my official no, like I'm unprepared for the question.
No,
So
I think it's a good one, and I think we can dedicate an entire episode to that in the future, because you're right. I mean, branding, coming up with a name to protect yourself. I mean, as much as everybody in the industry, or who does art modeling, or who is involved with art modeling, understands the beauty and the nature of it, you are unfortunately opening yourself up to other seedy individuals who,
absolutely.
Can
You're opening up to other people's opinions of yourself, and those are, again, just opinions, and don't ever let that stop you.
Yes.
Ever. That's my tip of the day. Don't ever let that stop you. If you're truly passionate about what you're doing, go for it. And yes, if it's taking your clothes off for money, girlfriend, just do it. Just do it. Just be good at it. Just be good at it, and be professional at it. And then you will have the respect of the people that you work with. And that's...
I agree. All right. I'll just close with my I'll just close with my very brief. Check this out. I mentioned that I have Amazon Prime now, which I'm spending way too much money on. But one of the benefits of Amazon Prime is Amazon Video, and I recently discovered a documentary on there called "The Nude in Art," a documentary. It was a great documentary, really informative. I mean, going back to pre-Renaissance period and art, in the ancient Greek times, and how the nude in art has evolved. If you really want to get into, if you're kind of like a history geek like I am, and you really want to get into the just nitty-gritty details of the history of this type of art, I highly recommend this documentary. I'm sure it's available other places besides Amazon Prime, but that's just where I saw it, and it's free. It's included on Amazon Prime. So, but look for look for it somewhere else where DVDs are sold. It's hosted by the gentleman that you see in the picture. There's Tim Marlowe. It's a British documentary. So.
That's like 12.
He was.
I'm like, he looks like he's 12. I'm like, how's he in a documentary? No,
he shouldn't be talking about this stuff. So, all right, guys. So we're going to wrap it up here. I know we went a little bit over time, but just very quickly, Zinn, if people want to see your work, is there still a website that they can see you at, or go to see, or should we leave that for future episodes?
Model Mayhem, Zinn Star. That's probably I never started a website for myself, and it's definitely not happening now because I started another website for something else I'm doing. So,
no. But it's not on the Zinn Star name, is it?
No. This is something completely different. This is another. I'm representing a multi-level marketing company, and I work with essential oils. So that's my thing now. So
nice.
I need an actual something that'll give me some security. I love art modeling, but there's no Social Security in that. So
right.
There's no
no retirement plan.
You know what I mean? It's like
right.
You're 1099 and you're ready to go, and I'm like, well, now I'm in my 30s.
What?
And I know, right? I am.
You're still a youngin'.
I am 32, and I don't care because I look good for 32. So there we go.
You do.
Boom!
You look amazing for 32.
Boom! Now I just totally lost track of time. Just totally lost track of what I was saying.
Well, if I can throw this in, I'll throw this in just so we don't go too far over time. Yes, I'll put a link. I'll put a link to Zinn's Model Mayhem site.
Model Mayhem.
Yes, her Model Mayhem site. Do you remember your number? I don't remember mine.
I have no idea.
I honestly, even to look up mine, I go to browse and then put Zinn Star in and then see what happens.
There you go. If you guys do that, just go to modelmayhem.com, click on browse, type in Zinn Star, you'll find her.
That's awful.
If you're too lazy to do that, I'll put a link in the show notes.
It's 2 words, just to help you out. It's 2 words. Zinn Star, so the Zinn Star. Yeah, there we go.
Zinn with 2 N's, Star with 1 R. So just look that up on Model Mayhem. And if you want to email Zinn, you can email her at the show email address, which is or her show email address, which is zinn.museproject@gmail.com. So send her fan mail. And Rick, how about people if they want to see your work or find you online and see some of your amazing?
I'm trying. Well, the website basically doesn't have any art stuff on it. It's the stuff that I do for other things, for money.
Okay.
But the best one, I guess, would be the Instagram, which would just be Synthesis Art. And the Instagram has a lot of stuff on it, and over 1,000 images since I started 2.5 years ago.
Wow.
And but that's not, I don't know. It's not a lot compared to when you look at some people's Instagrams and they have like 10,000. But of course, that's. But each one of mine is like a different, thing, but that's got a lot of my stuff on it.
Yeah.
So,
I love following your Instagram feed. So just look up Synthesis Art on Instagram, and you can actually email Rick as well at Rick RICK .museproject@gmail.com. So I'm sure you'll be getting lots of fan mail as well, Rick.
oh yeah.
I'm gonna write you some fan mail, Rick.
Okay.
It's gonna be, who is this stalker chick? As you can see, I'm the only person with a lower third here. I got to teach you guys how to get a lower third name thing on your video
Yes.
screens. But
I don't know if I can do that on my phone, but we'll figure it out. Oh.
So I'm here with Behind the Muse as well. But I'm going to see if I can put this in my lower third here.
Oh, now he's
gonna
being
change.
fancy, Rick. He's showing us up. Do
I
you see
know.
this? Do you see what's going on right now?
Yeah.
Well, hold on,
You see
I'm
this?
gonna bring it back.
Do you see the professionalism?
Look, I changed the name below my.
Look at
I
it.
see. Look, the name of the photography below my name. See,
Oh, look at that.
it's
Ah.
my art photography is under the name Three Graces Photography. That's also a mythology reference. We'll get to in another episode. But just to go, I do have a Tumblr page, Three Graces Photography. Just look that up on Tumblr. On Instagram as well, Three Graces Photography. But if you want to contact me here at the show, I don't have a personal one, but just contact Behind the Muse Project @gmail.com, and that email will come to me as well. BehindTheMuseProject@gmail.com. We do have a website that I mentioned, BehindTheMuseProject.com. Like I said, if you go there very soon, you're just going to see a bunch of images that have nothing to do with us because we're still designing the site. But hopefully in the future we'll have our own Instagram feed, maybe a Tumblr page, Facebook as well. So stay tuned for us to make our debut on social media. But for right now, just go to BehindTheMuseProject.com. And any parting words?
No, this was awesome. I can't wait to do it again.
This is fun. Yeah, make sure check out on the YouTube page that you're probably watching this broadcast on. Just subscribe to the videos. You'll be notified when the next one goes live, and hopefully by that time we'll have some social media for you to subscribe to as well, so you can stay in the know with the Behind the Muse project. So Rick, Zinn, thank you for
Thank you for setting everything up.
Hey, my
Yes,
pleasure.
thank you.
Can't wait to do this again.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Have a good night, guys. It was great seeing you.
Bye, everybody.
You too.